the chance of tropical development that's going to be along the Gulf Coast areas. That's going to be the areas of Louisiana and to Florida. We're going to be looking out for landfall at this point because it looks like Bertha is going to be able to take that name. That'll be the name after that storm does that. My name is Michael, here to give you an update on what's going on out there in the weather community. So in the next 2 days from the National Hurricane Center here, look what we have here. We have a 30% chance of tropical development in the next 2 days and a 40% chance in the next 7 days. So as you can see here, we have that in our outlook for people who have been watching the videos. Let's see something. We're just trying to fix that. And for people who've been watching the videos, the cone's been over here, but the cone's sort of shifted now. So that's a difference that we have to tackle here. So as you can see there, that shift in that cone as you get into areas of Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, those things have shifted and they are sort of gone down. Now on satellite, when we look at this storm, we don't really see this storm as we did well defined as it was before. But if we go to this HRRR model, we definitely can see that spin. The reason why it looks like a tropical storm, but it's not a tropical storm, is we have the clouds and things of that nature, all different types of things. They're just not in those like low towards the surface area of the United States. So that's what we're looking at here. But here's a look at our HRRR model. This is going to be the 18Z run. And as you can see, we have areas of disorganized showers and thunderstorms. They're going to give that low pressure is getting here. And as you can see, it enters areas of Louisiana, into Mississippi, into Alabama, into Florida, into Georgia. And it's moving in the direction sort of like this. It's moving in this way. So the question is, which direction, or, well, where this storm will make landfall at. So we've talked about the possibility of what's going to happen here. We're going to look at some different model runs, and these are going to be new to me. We're going to look at the GFS model run and see, because what I'm doing is I'm basically comparing different sorts of models that you guys can go based off of, see what's going on. The GFS is now complying in an agreement that there is a low pressure here at this point in time, as you can see there, but it disappears. As we get into the European model, we have that low pressure sort of agreeing at the same thing. This is going to be the latest European run. It's agreeing that it's going to go in towards the New Orleans area, and that's something that we got to watch out for. So as you get into this area, the Gulf Coast, anywhere from Florida, well, really New Orleans, the Big Bend region, this is the area that you got to look out for. These areas are really going to be something that we're going to have to watch out for, something we don't really necessarily know still yet where this storm is going to go. You know, we have a lot of possibilities that are happening. And we look at the NAM here. This is the latest NAM for the 18Z run. And look at that storm dissipating as it gets to the Big Bend region. So, can we get a landfall at Bertha if this storm becomes Tropical Storm Bertha, which at this point, the possibility of that storm becoming Tropical Storm Bertha is very likely. So, as I said with the satellite, you do see like areas, like very faintly, very areas of some rotation that's going on out there. To be fair, it is dark around this time, so as you can see, some of those clouds are going away and you can't see them that much. But as you can see there, this is pretty much some smoke. We got some wildfire smoke going on from the Canada fires. As you can see there, that light gray color as you get into areas of Chicago. Now stay tuned for some more updates on the tropical environment. I'm going to talk about the severe weather threat that's going on across areas of the Northeast and what areas will be getting severe weather tomorrow. Stay tuned indeed for that more tropical updates as we get into this, because I have to just explain a few things on what's going on in the actual Gulf itself, on what possibilities we have with this tropical storm. So as we look at we're going to look at the severe weather threat. And if we go look at the, not the Climate Prediction Center, let's look at the Storm Prediction Center. As you can see here in the Northeast, we're having problems along New York, but as we get into tomorrow, remember this eastern North Carolina thing that I was talking about in the previous video? As you can see there, east of Charlotte, you're going to have that slight risk that's going to be in effect there for those areas. As you get in the north, same as the areas as always, I think that's Great Falls, Fargo, you know the areas, Grand Forks. These areas, I don't, maybe not Great Falls, but Grand Forks, these are the same areas that get the same severe weather thing, and that's honestly what we're going to have to continue to see across areas of that area. No tornado threat tomorrow, which is a fantastic thing. As we get to our wind threat, eastern North Carolina, you're going to have that wind threat as well as in the northern part of the country. And look at our hail threat. Hail threat going to be mainly across the northern part of the country. So if you live in these areas, you need to be prepared for that. And I'm going to zoom in just a little more so you see the familiar cities, just to know that that's the area that's going to have the hail threat. Now, for our weather prediction center, we've been having floods going on in Texas. I'm going to get to you guys in a second on where I didn't forget about you, but this flood threat mainly along the Gulf Coast, simply because we're getting these outer bands of that Invest 96L, 97L, I can't remember which Invest it is, not off the top of my head, but these areas are going to have that flood risk. Flood risk going to be along areas of New York once again. This is going to be today, by the way, but I'm going to show you tomorrow. Look at Texas right there. But as we get into our day 2, more along the Gulf Coast, as I said. So as you can see, look at all of this flooding. We're basically having a storm system that's moving like this, and it's going to move up here into these different areas. So who knows what areas they're going to go into. But as you get around El Paso, Texas, look at all of that. The risk of flash flooding is in effect. As you get east and northeast, north areas of Phoenix, you're going to be having that flood threat that you got to watch out for too. Now, as far as our Monday, we're still going to have the same area. So Texas, you're sort of calming down from this flash flooding. When you're in El Paso, you're still going to have the flood threat, but you're calming down from what you've had with this insane flood. It's been dangerous, catastrophic floods that we've been having, and it's a good thing to see that those floods are over. So as we get into Monday, we still see the chance of that flood risk. That flood risk is going to be in the north. I don't want to forget about you guys over there in Chicago and things like that in the Midwest. But look at the flood threat on Monday, and then into Tuesday, and then into Wednesday. We just continue to keep having this flood threat, mainly along this area of the coast. So we do know that if we get a storm forming or not, we're going to have the flood risk regardless. Whether this takes a name or not, this is still a rainmaker, a deal. Now, I don't know as far as showers and thunderstorms and things like that of that nature, but I don't know yet on those details. So as far as our track, we really don't have a track yet. But I'm just going to paint the scenario of the possibilities on which direction, the storm could possibly go. This is what I'm going to say, and I'm not going to say it's a guarantee. We've seen these storms before. They've turned. They've done some things before. These storms have turned, and what it is that we're going to have to deal with these storms, and this is a very weird situation to think about here. It's very it's unpredictable, I'll say it, as of right now. But as we get into areas like this, look at here. So if you're in this area of Florida, honestly, you're safe for now. You're still going to get the rain, the showers, and thunderstorm activity as you get into areas like Tampa Bay, Ocala, things like that. You're still going to have the flooding potential or the rainmakers, outer bands in this system. But really, these are going to be your likely tracks. And could we get a track that's like this? Very well possible. So that's something that we got to watch out for. So as you get into those areas of Louisiana, into Florida, you got to watch out for that area. But as the main panhandle of Florida, it seems like you're good. Well, the peninsula of Florida, you're good. But as you get into this top area, let me not mess up here. As you get into this top area, you need to be on lookout. But if you're in the peninsula of Florida, you are good to go. So that's something that we want to look out for. So that is going to be what we're talking about here now. More details on the tropics, and like I said, I wanted to give you guys more details on the tropics, but before we do that, might as well look at alerts here. As you can see here, this is active alerts as of right now. Flood warnings, flood advisories, all of those things of that nature, air quality alerts in effect in the north. Now we do have the tornado watch, I think has expired. Still have a tornado warning that's going on there in Pennsylvania. Let's zoom in on this. Tornado warning, this is a radar indicated, so not exactly, this is going to be south of State College. You do have those beach hazard statements that are in effect. Look at all of those air quality, dense smoke advisories in the water, heat advisories building in the middle part of the country, and those air quality alerts going to be mainly focused on those northern parts of the country. Now, as we get into the western areas of the country, we're actually quiet right about now, which is a good thing. Just some beach hazards and beach statements and things of that nature, but right now, yeah, this is a special marine warning. To be completely honest with you, if this storm forms, if we could expect, just because you have the winds and all of that, those areas right into there. Although I said you guys were safe, although you still have the potential of getting that in that Florida peninsula area. You have the potential of some tropical development. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see the tropical storm watches and then warnings start to pop out if this storm ends up developing. Over the past 24 hours, we've seen this storm update. In the past 48, drastically has been a change across multiple areas across the board here. And this thing was relatively tracking against the Carolinas. Now we're at the area where we're in the Gulf area, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. Now we're in that region. So this is actually going to take a bit of a turn. But like I said, I'm going to show you guys here. As you can see, the areas of flooding are mainly along the coast. Now, as we get into areas for this tropical development, we're going to use the European model because I think this model honestly had showed it. The HRRR is just a model that uses for better details. But as you can see here with this storm, look into these areas here, and I noticed you noticed something here because this is shown in a model before. Have you noticed that we have it where it's 1008 millibar and then it bumps back up to 1010 millibar low? Remember, the lower the millibars, the stronger the storm. And what's happening here is we have low millibars and then we have up millibars that these models are potentially showing. We have things like wind shear and things like that we have to pay attention for, factors like that, maybe even Saharan dust. But as of right now, this storm is in full effect. It's kind of spinning around. It's showing us something. So if it can make it, this is what we've been seeing. If these storms, remember I told you these storms are still possible, although we are in an El Nino, we need to watch out for these. Still going to be some rain makers. Remember, Tropical Storm Arthur brought a lot of flooding to areas of Louisiana, areas of Mississippi, so that's why we want to watch out for these areas specifically. As you get into areas like this around New Orleans, you are going to have all of that tropical development, so we want to watch out for the potential. These could potentially weaken the system, but it's not a guarantee. We have extremely warm waters along this area right here. A lot of warm water is in effect. That warm water specifically could strengthen that storm. Are we going to have rapid intensification? I'd say it's a possibility. There is a lot of unknown with this storm system, to be honest. A lot of things are on the table. A lot of things could change. A lot of things could happen. It's just something we got to watch out for. My name is Michael, here to give you an update on what's going on out there in the weather community. Subscribe, share this with a person you may know, and I'll see you out there in the weather community.